In this video, I'm going to show you how to do a Maryland bridge using the CEREC. Under the restoration types that we're doing, you can pick a bridge, but there's no option for a Maryland bridge, and so we're going to pick veneer for the one part of it, or the wing of it, and then under connector type for now, pick intersection. And for the wing, we're also going to pick biogeneric individual, and in this case, we're doing that for tooth number 8. And then we're also going to add a pontic, and we want to switch this to copy and mirror. Copy and mirror is going to save you a lot of time in designing. So copy and mirror for the pontic, which is going to be tooth number 9. And then you just take a look at your case details over here and make sure that that went through correctly. Then it takes you to the model phase, where it always takes you to drawing the margin first, and we usually make it a good habit to not do that right away so we don't skip some of the steps over here that are going to make things a lot easier. So go to the edit model, and this is where you could trim any excess tissue if there was any. In this case, this would be a good example if someone came in with a broken tooth and you were going to make something right away, or if you're going to extract and you needed to place something there. So we have the extraction site here, and we're going to go to the replace tool, where you can kind of draw a little margin around that site and then hit apply, and it's going to replace that with something in the model that you can work with for the pontic shape, and it's going to open up the tool for forming. I'm going to go to the remove tool and create the shape or size of the pontic that you want, and you can create the shape for it right in the model. Good. And then we're going to go to set model axis down here. Since we're working on the front tooth, we want to line this up to the midline like that, and hit OK. And then go to drawing the margin. It's asking for the margin for the veneer, which is really just going to be the wing of the bridge, and drawing it with manual is a lot easier than the magnetic one. So you want to draw something that looks kind of like this. And then you could scoot things over if you want more coverage of that wing. You don't want to go too far into here, or you'll have issues with it milling or trying to get into that space. So it needs to be able to seat or draw as you're going to place that bridge. And here you can kind of look at that with setting the insertion axis. If you picked to do copy and mirror, you'll have this next option here. So clicking on copy line, it's going to ask you, what are you trying to copy and mirror? And in this case, we want to make this tooth look exactly like that one without spending a lot of time. So we're going to grab this and try to move the line over on what we want the software to copy. Kind of want to do it in chunks of moving that. If you try and draw all the way around the tooth, sometimes it will flip the line that you're trying to copy, and so just take little bites out of the tooth here as you walk that around. You can't copy anything that's interproximal because there's no image of what that is, and so we can copy as much as we can kind of up to that point, and then here we want to go up and over onto the other side, just like that. And then we can go to the design phase. So right away it gives you something that's pretty good and pretty close to what this tooth is. We might want to do a little bit of work on the pontic shape there. So let's start with that. There's going to be a button that's called Edit Baseline if you have a pontic, and it allows you to use the drag tool to grab this and change this pontic shape pretty easily. So let's try and bulk that out a little. Good, and that's a pretty good shape for a pontic to start with. You could also grab your circular tool after you have the base and you like what the base is, and you can move that or shape it however you want. While you have the circular shaping tool on, you can work on getting it out of occlusion. We don't want that to touch. And then we want to look or peek underneath the model and see what are we working with for a contact space. So you want it to be green. So this is a good starting point because I can then go in and smooth it. We'll do that next. But looking at this one, we're not touching. And so we can grab with this tool and bring it over. And that gives us something pretty close to start with. Okay, so this tooth, the Pontic, now looks pretty good. We have the wing of it, they just aren't touching, or they're not connected. So using the circular tool, we can grab and pull from the lingual side and get these two to touch. Good, it's not a big connector, but at least those are connected. And so we're gonna move on now to looking at our contacts through here. Bring the strength down a bit, and we're going to smooth this until we have a green color, and smooth this one until it's green. Good, and essentially you have a good shaped Maryland bridge. It's aesthetic from this side because everything that was changed or bulked was from the lingual, and it mirrors this one very well, and we have a good Pontic shape. You can also take a look at the Pontic shape from underneath, and so if you want to make that more ovate or a modified ridge lap, you can smooth from here and kind of get to what you want, or if you want it to press on the tissue a little bit more, you can change that too. Now that we have a decent design here, we need to work on getting some strength for the connector, and we're going to do that by going back to administration and going to editing our case here, and where the connector says intersection, we're going to change it to anatomic. Once we change that, we're going to go back to design, and you'll see that now we have not just the wing and the tooth that were connected, but there's a third piece that's in the middle here. And if you do it this way, it's much easier to manage or manipulate. And so by getting this, you can now click on that and we can edit that by itself. And so clicking on that, it's telling you that it's just not bulky enough. And going under here, if you go and click on this, you're now able to move or manipulate it. So you have these buttons here. Under the connector move one, there's a position tool and a scale tool. So go to scale, and you want to click scale all. If you just do scale, you'll see that there's 3 parts of it that let you, change what size is there. And sometimes changing all 3 individually can be difficult, but if you just click scale all, you can grab it and you can make it bigger. And this will give you as much strength as possible really quickly without changing the shapes of what you had already worked on for the individual pieces. So once we're happy with that, you can move forward to manufacturing. And now you have a Maryland bridge with a wing that's ready to go in. Options for milling. If you're doing something that's going to be a lot more permanent, then do this out of Emax and bond it in, because it has very good bond strength and they look good. If you're doing something that's temporary, you're just doing it while you're waiting to do an implant later, then in the computer still select to do Emax, but you can place in the mill a Tetric CAD block, which is like the hybrid composites. And the benefit of doing that for your temporary is you can just bond that in, and you don't have to run it through the oven. So you mill it out and polish, and then you're ready to bond it in. And that's how you make a Maryland bridge using the CEREC software.